Yeah, I like it. You want to know something funny? So the guy that works at one of the buildings I was just cleaning, I had him pull up the podcast, and we looked great, by the way, on his computer. And he accidentally left it up, and they said that it crashed the whole system. I didn't tell ChatGPT that, but that was pretty funny.
That is awesome.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think they were just mad that he was on something else. I think the system was fine. They just told him that, but
that's funny. Should we do our intro and get started?
yes, yes. Are we? Oh, shoot! I didn't know that was live. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
We'll cut it out.
yes. So absolutely, let's get started, guys. Welcome to our show. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial business owner, the operator and owner of Shealo Glo LLC, a handmade shea butter company. I'm an advocate for your self-care, business care, and intentional wellness.
Hi, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, and published author who helps you upgrade your self and community care.
Yes, and together we are Women Connected in Wisdom, a podcast grounded in the eight dimensions of wellness. Welcome to our show. Welcome, welcome.
Right. And for those who are watching live on Facebook or YouTube, you probably got a little extra today. You got a little.
We do what we can, right?
It's perfect. It's perfect. So, how are you, my friend?
I am great. I am great. Enjoying this weather today. It is beautiful, especially since it's supposed to be really cold this weekend. I don't know. Here in Georgia, it does whatever it wants to do.
Well, I love that you start out talking about the weather because, our topic today has a little something to do with that. And
Yes.
I love talking about the weather. I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a farmer's daughter. I was
Yes.
raised by a gardener and a farmer. My dad was a public school teacher, but when he retired, he started a small organic farm. So I've been
Mhm.
raised around farmers my whole life. And you know how when some people say, "Oh, I don't want to talk about the weather," that's superficial. I'm
Mhm.
always like, "Whoa, whoa, back up!" Like the weather is what connects us to our food and connects
Mhm.
us to our well-being. And I think it's a point of privilege if you say, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's superficial," because that means
Mhm.
you're not walking anywhere, and that means you're not growing your own food.
That's so true. That's so true. And it's funny, I actually think about Anne Frank and how she was affected by the weather with her emotions. And when I learned that, I said, you know what? That makes a lot of sense.
Right? Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, I know I'm affected too. Like
Yeah.
if I go, well, that's why I live where I live. Like, we had talked about when we were newly married, somebody had offered him a job in Seattle. I was like,
Wow.
"Oh, I can't do those gray days."
No.
You know? And I'm just like, "No, I need sunshine." Georgia's even pushing it for sunshine for me because I was raised in Texas and
Mm.
I'm used to some wide open sunshine. Oh,
Yeah. Texas is beautiful.
yeah. Well, tell us about our topic today.
Yes. So today, ladies, we are talking about environmental wellness. Okay. And I'm going to read this definition to you. Environmental wellness refers to your sense of safety, comfort, and connection with your physical surroundings. Environmental wellness can be enhanced by living more in harmony with the planet and your community. Wellness in this domain begins in your immediate surroundings. Your personal space has a direct impact on your state of mind, emotional well being, and productivity. Environmental wellness also extends beyond your personal space to larger communities, geographic areas, and the planet.
I love that.
Yes,
I love that definition, right? Because sometimes when I think environment, I just think outside. But I thought,
exactly.
and I know this to be true about it increases my productivity, like with my environment about what's around me and honestly my environment if I get outside,
Hmm.
interact with nature. What
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, and I was thinking about you and your farmer background, your dad's background, because my dad has been doing lawns literally for 20 years. So I grew up as a young black girl with these long braids in the summertime, right? Because we have braids. And then I had jeans on because girls aren't supposed to get cuts or bruises, right? Which is why I love shea butter, okay? But I was outside in the summer doing people's yards. And so I've always been outside. Even in the summertime, I would be in the truck with the doors and the windows closed all the way up under a blanket, okay, like chilling, reading my book, just enjoying being outside. And so I've been used to it. Then I was in band, so we're outside in the morning, in the middle of the day, at night, late at night. And so it's definitely been something that I've grown accustomed to. And I didn't even realize how much it was necessary until the quarantine happened. And I could tell the difference in my mood and my attitude if I'm inside too long or if I take too long to go run. It's like, you know what? I probably just need to go outside and get some fresh air.
Hey, that's a good thing to notice, right?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
ask my clients that, my coaching clients, when I'm talking, like, when was the last time you went outside? When was the last time
Mm,
you took a walk? And like, not, I mean, sometimes it can be for the purpose of exercise, but just the purpose of
yeah,
walking around and seeing what you can see.
yeah.
Um, yeah, you say that about band. I was not a band kid. I was more chorus and
Mm,
sports, but it took me, you even saying that took me right back to track meets in
yeah.
Texas, like the all
Mm.
day track meets that, we were there from when it was chilly to all the blazing heat to chilly
Yes.
again, and more
Yes.
chilly because you had a sunburn and you had run all day. So,
Oh.
um, yeah, and how that really good tired you get after you've been
Yeah.
outside all day,
Yes.
and yeah, that, and I know we've talked about it before offline, but I share that mowing lawn things with you because when I was, saving money to put myself through college, I mowed lawns. That's what I did the
Mm.
summer before I went, to college and the summer after I came home, and, yeah, it was an awesome gig. I loved it. And I was so excited. This is how much of a nerd I am, Shannon. I was so excited when I had enough money to buy my first Troy built lawnmower because at the time it was like the best small lawnmower. Like it was
Yeah.
below industrial, but it was above what most people used in their lawns, right?
Right. Right.
I thought I was a big deal with my old orange pickup truck and my mower in the back of it.
It's
I was
funny that
not
you I love it. It's funny that you say that. And mind you, I love being a nerd, okay? So it's not a problem. But I was actually in Home Depot yesterday, and Home Depot is one of my favorite stores. I just love the smell of the wood. I was looking at the tools. I want a little toolbox. You need to have everything you need, just like we have tools for wellness. Sometimes you need actual tools. I just love Home Depot for it, stuff like that.
right. It is so
Yeah.
true. As we were prepping for the show, I was thinking about environment and, I was thinking about the book I co-wrote with Sheila about Stillpoint and self-care and community care. And we
So
have a
good.
whole section in there about the power of physical environment. We have a whole section about work environments too. But as I was
Mm.
looking, I wanted to share this with you and our readers because I felt like it really was appropriate for today. In the book, Sheila visited with Ralph Caplan, who was a designer and a writer who consults on workspaces. I didn't even know there was such a thing, honestly. Um,
Mm.
and she was talking about the environment, how it affects our comfort level, our ability to focus and concentrate, and finally, our sense of ourselves.
Mm.
So, like, our environment affects our comfort level, our ability to focus and concentrate, and finally, our sense of selves.
Mhm.
Caplan has said that he said it well in some poems he wrote for an ad campaign to promote office systems. So I was just going to read this poem that's in our book. In our book, it's on page 51. Everyone needs a here, a nest, a niche, a room of one's own, a space with enough of its own character to accept yours. a corner that belongs to you as much as you belong to it, somewhere you know that knows you, a homeroom at school, a familiar street, a ship in port, anywhere that welcomes you back when there is no one there to say it, a sense of place solid enough for light to break against. No one wants to be nowhere or closed in. Any environment is wrong if you feel stuck in it. A sense of place, a sense of light and openness, a sense of choice. These are qualities we seek in the spaces where we live and work.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm even reading that a new way. Our book came out a couple of years ago, and I hadn't read that in a while. And I'm
Right.
totally reading it in a new way since this last year. Because, I
Mm.
said to somebody recently, it's not like we work at home anymore. It's like we live at work.
Right. It,
Right?
it was crazy when you said that. And it's funny because I did used to live where I worked. When I was an RA and you're a resident assistant on campus, right, your residents are right there with you. So you could be doing something for yourself, but you're still an RA because you're there. It's kind of like being on any job that's on call. How do you separate it? And the physical and social boundaries are very important and useful in those situations.
Right? Yeah.
Hmm.
It's always fascinating to me. I'm taking a class right now. We just had week 2 this past Monday, and I'm taking a class on, I think it's called Shine for 2021. It's about decluttering and organizing. So this is a perfect
Okay.
time for this show. And this is by a woman named Melody LeBaron. And we'll put a link
Mm.
to her info. She is fabulous. I am so enjoying her class. So she uses a little bit of feng shui where like you have your place needs to be in certain order. And she uses a lot of practical. We should have her come on, actually.
Yeah.
We should have her come on. And she was talking about how different personalities need different environments. So
Mm.
that different, and in some of it's according to your birth year, some of it's according to your personality. It's a combination of things, but
Mm.
different elements need different environments. So some people like really tall ceilings and empty, like counters all cleared off. Some people
Right.
need to have their knickknacks and need to have things surrounding them. Like I had never really thought about our homes and our environment. I mean, I guess I thought about it reflecting our personalities,
Right.
but not as fully as she does. Yeah.
Right. I had never thought about breaking it down by types, kind of like, you eat different things for your blood type or your body type, things like that, but it makes sense.
Right? It did make sense. And what really made sense is, I've been in a relationship for 27 years, and
Right.
there's some things that had never really made sense to me. I just thought, oh, we just come from some different places. But
Right.
I think it may just actually be because, I mean, I'll just be fully transparent. Like, I have a whole system for laundry. I like laundry to be completely put up. I like it. And my husband likes to be able to see his laundry. So, like, there's a
Mm.
chair in our bedroom that he likes to drape his laundry over.
Mm.
Woo, woo. I said something the other day because I was redoing the whole system. And I said, and he said, well, like, he said, don't you ever see those shows where they have a butler and there's a chair? I don't even know what he called it. I laughed and I was like, yeah, we don't have a butler. And if you're
Right.
going to drape your stuff over a chair, let's put that in the closet. And there's a term for it, like I don't know.
Right.
But it was funny. But it made me think about environments, right? And then compromise when we live with other
Hmm.
people,
Right.
because that's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you're talking about, that's usually what I think about with the home space, right? Is organization. Some people, again, like stuff out. I think I'm kind of in between. I'm not necessarily a minimalist where I like things to be almost completely gone, right? Or whatever that type of minimalist is. But I also definitely don't like this stuff all over the place. So, like we were talking about before, all the way into the drawers and the cabinets, or even my files on my computer with my work stuff, I like to know that it's organized. And if there's a point where it's starting to get unorganized, I might not be looking at it, but it definitely affects the amount of anxiety that I feel, or that to-do list in my mind that's like racking stuff up, like this needs to get done, you know? And I think it also helps in terms of the things that we have control over, right? During quarantine, in life, there's a lot of stuff that happens, but you washing your dishes before you go to sleep, you have control over that. Now, again, as a young adult, when I first moved into my own apartment, I like leaving the dishes sometimes. I do what I want. You know what I mean? But that's also the wellness in your environment, that you get to choose what it's like and that it reflects you, like the poem was talking about. So, um, yeah, I just like to be organized. And something else that I like to do is aromatherapy, especially with everything going on, a candle flickering or an incense or something soothing or something uplifting, depending on what's going on, really helps.
Right. I know one of the things for me is environments can be overstimulating. So I'm
Mm,
not a big fan of, unless I'm watching the TV, that the TV's on. Like I'm not,
right.
I like I like it to either be quiet, or I like some, my favorite music, and I
Mm,
have different playlists for different things, like I think most people do,
mm,
right? But especially this time of year, with it being, we're coming up on spring equinox, is, in Georgia we've got spring. Like
yeah.
daffodils are coming up, red
Are
buds
they
are
on?
blooming. My friends in the north hate us right now because they're still in ice, right? Um, but it's gorgeous out there today. And so
Yeah,
I
it
like
is.
to open up all those windows and let the breeze flow through and listen to the birds. That's my
Mm,
favorite, is just really,
hmm.
you know, what's I love that. That is one of my
Yeah.
favorite smells and sounds and everything.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, when you said that, it reminded me of, I think it was maybe 2017, 2018. I went to Costa Rica for my birthday, right? And that whole year, I was just paying attention to stuff. I watched the rainfall. I watched the wind blow the leaves in Costa Rica and just watch nature do its thing and enjoy it. Went zip lining upside down in the rainforest. So when I was growing up and we were talking about ecosystems and environments, I said the rainforest sounds so cool. And when I thought about it, I never thought that I would see it the first time upside down. So it was really interesting. It was
that
good.
is on my wish list, my friend. It is
Mm.
actually, I was talking to my friend and colleague Ade Anafawasi last week, and we've been talking about doing some international retreats for years now. And
Ooh,
we, I think the pandemic has just made us want to do it even more, right?
right. Definitely.
Costa Rica was one of the places that made the list. We were talking about Costa Rica. We were talking about South Africa. We were talking about
Mm.
Mexico.
All
Um,
of them. Yes.
and just really getting out in different environments and different
Mm.
places. Would you say that was one of your favorite places you've ever traveled to?
Absolutely. And I'm the type of person that I feel like almost every place I travel is my favorite place. But definitely, I loved eating eggs and rice for breakfast and watching the monkeys run on the telephone lines and the markets. Like recently during quarantine again, I love these street food Netflix shows, right? And it's talking about women in the economy and things that people have done to get their families where they need to be and what that looks like in other countries. And I love the fact that I was there. We were at the bus station and it took us like $8 for a 3 mile trip to Manuel Antonio when we went to the beach. And the market, just the fresh food and the culture, I love it. And I love Spanish anyway. So any Spanish speaking country where I get to be immersed in it is great.
Mm. Boy, I have a longing for travel. I'm
Yes,
just so missing it, as so many people are right now. But I have hope that that's all coming back sooner than later. I
it
have
is.
we have a potential to speak at a conference in Puerto Rico in October. So
Ooh,
yeah,
that's
I'm
right on time.
I hope it's right on time. I hope it works. Will
Yeah,
you read the definition again?
absolutely. So, environmental wellness refers to your sense of safety, comfort, and connection with your physical surroundings. Environmental wellness can be enhanced by living more in harmony with the planet and your community. Wellness in this domain begins in your immediate surroundings. Your personal space has a direct impact on your state of mind, emotional well being, and productivity. Environmental wellness also extends beyond your personal space to larger communities, geographic areas, and the planet.
Mm,
hmm And I think that for me, traveling different places is synonymous and on the same line with reading different books and expanding your mind to different perspectives. Walking on the street, like something else that relates me to environmental wellness is when we would move when I was younger, and we moved a lot, okay, like every year. So when we would move, well, almost every year, let me correct that. I would acquaint myself with the neighborhood, right? Me and my friend I was always with, we would walk around in the morning, at nighttime, and I wouldn't feel comfortable in that new house until I did that. And it's kind of like that with different places. It expands your mind to what it looks like, and you getting used to it. But again, it's different walking around the neighborhood in America than it is walking up in the mountains in Costa Rica. So I love being able to have different perspectives like that. And then coming back home to your space where you feel reflected and you feel like you can be still and have your still point with everything that's going on.
right? I love that. Yeah, I love both. Like I'm a homebody and I love my space and
hmm
I love to go and I love to come back, right? I um I love that that definition started out with your sense of safety because I think
Mm,
sometimes as women that is not I mean that's real, right? With
yes.
domestic violence and with abuse and
hmm
I think that if that's in your background or that or you've had it before, that this could be a challenge, right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's something that I've been thinking about since quarantine started. I'm like, thankfully, I have um, a healthy living space. What about the people who don't? You know what I mean? What about the people who were waiting to go to school, waiting to go to work, and they feel trapped at home? And if you talk about, especially being a black woman in America, you could argue that do you feel safe at all? Especially with the history of everything. Um, it's interesting to say. I think it was last week we were talking about Breonna Taylor, and I keep March 13th is coming up, and now that's the year anniversary of when she was murdered. And if we're talking about, oh, your candles and incense and organizing your home, she was sleep in her bed. Like, where are we supposed to be able to go?
Right.
And so that's why it's so important to have a center in yourself, because sometimes your environment may be crazy. It'll look different at different times. So what is it that you can control that'll make you feel safe and have connection with the things that you need to have connection with, so that you can do what you need to do for your life while you can. That's where I have to focus, because environmentally, even at work, it's different things that we have to consider.
And that sucks, my friend. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry. Thank you for
yeah.
naming it because
Oh, of
that
course.
it's a reality here.
hmm
And um yeah, and it really stinks that it is. It's
Yeah. And it's a reality everywhere, that the darker of any culture is treated differently. But that's also why the conversation is so important. The conversation with you and I together is so important, because there were white freedom writers that got beat and killed and threatened along with everybody else. And I don't know how brave I would be if they were lynching black people and I'm white and I don't have to say anything. You know what I mean? So that's why I always commend your bravery and the work that you do, because it's not always easy to hold space and everything, but it's also important to be able to unpack what it is, so that we can find out how to heal from it, have that conversation, and then what does healthy wellness really look like? And again, I know that things still aren't perfect. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done, but every day there are parts of my life that I have control over. And for me, organizing all the way to my paperwork and my files on my computer and my socks makes it helps me feel better, and
Right.
that's what I can do.
Okay,
that's
I have
just
a
what I can
question
do.
for you. I have a
Yeah.
random silly question for you.
Okay.
Talking about socks. How
Yes.
much is the appropriate amount of socks in a sock drawer?
Hmm.
What's your
I would
number?
say that's a good question. I would say around 14. And if
Okay.
not, maybe double that depending on what you use. I'm basing this off of uniforms, right? When I used to teach people how many uniforms they need, I would say if you work 4 days, you need 5 sets of uniforms. You need an extra one. So with the socks, I'm thinking about laundry, right? We do laundry a couple of times a week, but 14 is 2 weeks worth of socks.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just curious because I did the thing. I don't know how it was growing up in your house, but in my house, like we'll have a basket that has unmatched socks in it. And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden the socks are like it's just like, where do these socks go? So every
They run away.
like everybody bring your socks into a pile. Like we'll make sure they're all washed and clean, and then we sit and we watch a show and we match the socks. Well, we had a mound of socks. Like I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, how did this happen? Um,
Right.
and a lot of them are Christmas and stuff, like because they're cheap stocking stuffers. So
Right.
like
Right.
you got fluffy socks. But I was laughing about that, talking about as I look at organization and decluttering, like, how many socks does somebody really need? And then nowadays, you've got the running socks and you've
Yeah.
got the if you run in the cold in your wool socks and your hiking socks.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like first
Yeah.
world problems, right? First
No,
world.
definitely. Definitely. Oh, I'm so stressed out about my socks. Definitely, a privilege to be able to have those
Absolutely.
type of conversations. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean that's the conversation I would have with my friends at college, Jessica and Shy. We would be complaining about class and work, and they're talking about chemistry and all this stuff. And I'm like, listen, like 100 years ago, black women wish that this is, or maybe I can't say that, but a lot of people would love to say that these are the problems that they have. And it's definitely a privilege to be in that position.
You saying that, my walking buddy today, we were walking, and she is an incredible author, and
Mhm.
she writes paranormal sci-fi. And
Hmm.
give a shout out to my friend Anise. And she is always improving herself. She is always taking classes. I'm always like, you do not realize how incredible of a writer you are. And we were
Mm.
walking and talking today about a couple of different things, and what came up to me is something that I read recently, and I wish I could quote where I read it, but it said, you are living someone else's dream. And it really thought about, like, if we are in the present moment, right? And we
Yes.
take a deep breath, and yeah, because we're always striving, we're always looking, we're thinking, oh, a lot of people are thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, or I haven't written 2 books, or I haven't gotten this degree, or I haven't gotten this job, or, but really taking a deep breath and acknowledging the gratitudes of where we are and the fact that we have shelter and we have vehicles and we have jobs and we have food. Like, we are living somebody else's dream, that they're dreaming
Absolutely.
that, right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's why, and we talk about our self care, right, and our practices that we do. That's why during the quarantine, my list of gratitude has helped me so much, every day listing 10 things that I'm grateful for. And I thought that that would be a lot, but like you just rattled off a few, and those are huge things, you know. And again, you know, that's what the logo of Shealo Glo is about. If you look at it, it's a bird, and then it looks like it has three wings, depending on if you're looking at the vinyl or not. But the wings are actually leaves. And if not for anybody else, it's a reminder to myself, you know, look at the trees, look at the birds, and remember that they're taken care of. You're more important than the trees. You're going to be taken care of. Everything is fine. And even with everything that's gone on in my life in the last 2 years, which is a lot, I'm still starting. I started a business. I started a podcast. I make my own schedule. You know, like there's so many things. I cook more. I run 4 times a week. There's all these things that I've been waiting to enjoy, and I'm doing them all right now. So I would say I'm living my dream life, you know, and that's what I focus on.
I love that, Shannon. And I love that gratitude practice. Like,
Yes.
really, I don't know if you remember back, because it's been a minute, when Oprah first started talking about the gratitude practice, and she would have a gratitude journal, and you're supposed to write every night 3 to 5 things you're grateful for. And I can't remember the challenge because this was way back when, it's been a minute. But
Right.
I remember I had this potato peeler that I loved so much. It was ridiculous. And it was so simple, but it was something that was a simple tool in my environment that made my life so much easier and joyful. And so I
Right.
just remember that silver potato peeler, and I don't know what happened to it. I swear that my sister took it when she moved, but she swears she doesn't. But that's a whole nother
Right.
episode, right?
Right.
Um, I just I remember the feel of that potato peeler and how much I loved it. And I think I bought it for $1 at an estate, right? And so it doesn't always have to be a high ticket item, or it
Right.
doesn't have to be something that is, it really can be walking outside and seeing the sunshine,
Yes.
and that being the gratitude for the day.
hmm it could be you being able to see the sunshine, having the time to go outside, you know, having the clothes to be physically prepared to go outside. It's a lot that could go into that. And something that I specifically do as well is, like you said, when you talk about the potato peeler, it wasn't just, oh, I love potatoes and I like the peeler. It was, this makes my life so much easier. And I'm grateful for that. It's, you know, niching it down further than just the physical item. So we're not being materialistic. So when I'm grateful for water, it's not just, oh, I'm glad I can pay this water bill. It's other countries don't have running water. They're walking six hours, and then a big corporation comes in, builds a highway. So now these native people are getting hit by cars to get water. What do you mean? Talk about environmental wellness. You know what I mean? What is going on? So yes, I'm grateful for running water that I don't have never had to take 6 hours to get.
Right? It just makes
Mm-hmm.
me think, when you said that, I was thinking about, my first podcast was a podcast called Incremental Steps, and it was about environmental wellness and really talking about the tiny steps we can take to make a difference in our lives and our planet. And I think that's important, with global climate change and what's going on. Yes, to our inner environments, like really our
Right,
inner environments in our bodies, our workspaces where we work, but
right,
also caring for Mother Earth and our planet. Like, what are the steps we can take to have a lesser footprint? I mean,
right,
I didn't have control over this one, but I'm really grateful for it. I mean, my commute and travel is gone for the past year,
right.
like,
Yes,
and when that opens back up, I'm really already contemplating, because I had several gigs that were 45 minutes away without traffic. And so
mm,
I'm really looking in Gwinnett County where I live and local, so I can reduce that and,
hmm
still do good, meaningful community work, but closer to home, you know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And one thing I do is it's funny because I bought the Aldi bags. You know, they have the bags at the front of the line, and I never took them with me to the store. I'm like, I have these bags to not use. I always remember when I get in line, you know. But one thing that I do now is if I'm cooking and I'm chopping up peppers and tomatoes, all this stuff, I put everything into the grocery bag. So we keep the grocery bags that, you know, everything comes out of, and then I reuse them at least once. I would love to recycle stuff like that, but right now with where I'm at, that's something that I do is make sure that I at least use it a couple times
Right?
instead of always using plastic bags. We have reusable bags that we put snackies in, or any way that I can replace it with something that I don't have to buy over and over again. One, that's financial wellness, right? And using your money wisely. But two, it's also for the environment. It's interesting. My best friend of 20 years, her birthday is on Earth Day. So I've been thinking about Earth Day since elementary school, you know, and we only get one. So we go outside, we want to enjoy all this stuff. We talk about travel, but even Puerto Rico, I said, dang, I wish I would have been able to go to Puerto Rico before this huge storm came and wiped all this stuff out. And not that that's the important part of the storm in Puerto Rico. Of course, it's about the people there and their homes, but things happen to the environment. And if we're causing global warming, if we could take better care of our world for ourselves and the next generation, I don't think it's too much to ask to, you know, use less water bottles or do something that wouldn't take too much energy.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I really, um, I've been for years trying to reduce my single plastic consumption, things
Right.
that are single use plastic and be more conscientious about that. And
Mhm.
I'm with you on the bag thing. I have them in my car, but I often I just forget.
Yeah.
But there's all there's all kinds of ways. And when we do remember, just affirm it for ourselves that, all right, here we go. And I think just as many of those as we can take. And I know there used to be, I'll look it up so we can put it in show notes, about there was a way that you could jump online to track your footprint.
Oh,
So
wow.
environment. Yeah, I'll find it and put it in our show notes. So if people want to look and check how big their footprint is, um,
Yeah.
and
And
see.
And I was going to say, if we don't know what the environmental footprint or what an environmental footprint is, right? It's basically pointing to you and your life, the consumption that you have, and how much of an effect it has on the environment. So if you're drinking 3 bottles of water every day and throwing that out, if you're constantly using plastic, constantly driving 3 hours a day in one direction, so 6 hours total, like Christina was talking about, things like that. You know, I was going to say when you were talking about your commute, Christine, I've been working on consolidation, not just in the grocery store, right, and not going back in between aisles, but in general in the car. I don't like driving back and forth, you know. So if I'm gonna go out somewhere, if I'm gonna go to the post office, get gas by the post office, then do that and go in a circle, so we're not unnecessarily driving around for no reason, wasting gas and negatively affecting the environment.
So the one I'm going to put is it's called footprintcalculator.org.
Yeah.
So check that out and see what you think
Okay.
about. We'll have to check in with each other next time, or we can do it on social media about what our footprint was. Um, I think I'm on Georgia Power, and they send me monthly. They send me a thing about like how I'm doing compared to my neighbors.
Mm.
Whew. Oh, it drives me crazy. But I try to, like I try to switch it up. It's definitely it's a term, a psychological term of behavior change, right?
Mm. Yes. Like, look, this is what you do compared to everybody else. It could be healthy or negative when you do that, but yeah.
Right? Absolutely. Well, I know we mentioned earlier about environment and things changing with most of us a lot of people working from home right now
Yeah.
or at home more. Is there anything
Right.
you've done specifically to change your environment in this last year?
Yeah, and I mean, especially with my bachelor's in psychology, I'm very intentional about where I work and the organization of space, right? Because if you are always working in the bedroom, then when it's time to go to sleep and you usually work on your bed, your brain is going to say, oh, it's time to work, and you're not going to go to sleep. So, because we have not, we don't have offices and everything in this space that I'm in. What I do is kind of set up my own office. So if I'm at the counter, I set my computer up, set my notebooks up so my brain knows it's time to work. If I'm chilling on the couch, I do the same thing. If I'm in the room, I set it up like I'm working, and I intentionally don't dress too comfortable, right? I intentionally sit a certain way. I'm not just chilling on the bed, all lounged out like we're watching a movie. That way, when it is time to do those things and we're eating and relaxing and enjoying the space in a more casual way, it's easier to do that. And I found that I don't have to switch my mind as hard because it already knows what's going on.
I think that's so smart. I am
Thank
lucky
you.
enough to have my own office that has a door that shuts.
Yeah.
Um, I do a lot of online classes. I switched my whole business to virtual in a day.
Mm.
And so one of the things I had to do really quickly, and I teach this when I teach the on-camera confidence on Zoom. Um,
Yeah.
I had to switch my whole office around and switch my desk around so the door was not behind me. So my teenage young adult children wouldn't burst into the room inappropriately dressed or not dressed,
Right.
while
Right.
I'm on video or we're doing a podcast or something like that. It is one of the first things that we teach in on camera confidence is know your background and and let your folks know when you're online because we've seen some stuff in this last year, Yeah, it's been pretty funny. So yeah, I have really enjoyed our conversation today about environmental wellness. Is there anything else that you were thinking about that we should talk about before we jump?
No, I think that covered more than enough. Being intentional about being outside, being intentional about the things you can control and organize in your environment. I think that's more than enough to handle for 1 week as we talk about our wisdom in action. And what I'm going to do this week is look into my footprint. I wonder how big it would say mine is. I have no idea even how to think about that. So I'm interested.
All right. Well, and I'm getting into spring cleaning and I'm doing this decluttering class. So my wisdom in action this week is going to be around decluttering. And
Okay.
so this is it's kind of late in the show to jump into this, but it was kind of
Mhm.
funny. She did this whole analogy about decluttering being like your love life, and
Mm.
that sometimes you need to schedule it and make a plan. And so, but this
Yeah.
was the funny part. She said, and you need to schedule it, but it also needs to be on repeat.
That part. Yes,
Just like,
it
now. And so
is.
so my wisdom in action this week is I'm scheduling both and I'm scheduling them on repeat. So
Yeah, I like it. It makes sense. And especially because decluttering can be emotional. There's certain things that people don't like letting go of. And it's a whole, again, that's a whole nother episode, maybe spiritual wellness or emotional and mental wellness. But to have a time for it is probably helpful.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, giving ourselves props for when we do well for stuff like this,
Mhm.
especially in the middle of a pandemic. Like
Yeah.
and if we want to switch things around or spruce things up, but if we don't have the energy to, that's okay too. Being gentle with
Right.
ourselves. Like what do
Right.
we need in this moment, in this season,
Hmm.
in this time? So well, my friend, as always, I have enjoyed our conversation. This is episode, what are we on? Episode number 8,
Episode 8.
right? And y'all, this is the exciting part. If you've already made it to this part on audio, you know that we are live on all the platforms. We whoop whoop, the official launch is
Yes.
with episode 8. But we are here every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We'd love for you to join us and give us some comments and on whatever platform you're watching, whether that's Facebook or YouTube, because we can interact with you and have a great time. And if you don't catch us live, you can catch us on all the major platforms that host podcasts. So
exciting. So exciting. And we've gone through all 8. We have gone through all 8 dimensions of wellness. So next week is going to be the recap and we'll start over.
Right? How fun. I'm loving doing this.
That was great. And I love environmental wellness for last because this is the one that I struggle with. The other ones make sense. But outside of spending time outside, when I learned about the 8 dimensions of wellness, I really had to look at this one. What does that mean? What does that look like? How could I be more well environmentally since I don't even know what to think about right now, So this has been great.
I think it's perfect. All right, my friend, thank you for a great conversation. You taking us out?
Yes, of course, ladies. Thank you so much. Don't forget to be well, be wise, be whole, and we will see you next Wednesday at 5.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.